All right, everybody, here we are for episode 43 of Now Showing with Mike and Wayne. This is mine and Wayne's second episode in person with each other. Most of or all of our other episodes, except for last week's, have been done over FaceTime. So we're glad to keep doing it in person here. You're going to hear a fan in the background because we're in Florida and it's freaking hot as hell outside already. It's like 82 already.
Would you say it's our biggest fan?
Yes, possibly. This week, I got some pre-show stuff I want to talk about. So one thing that's been going on right now, a topic all over Twitter, all over the internet, is Blockbuster. Because there's that documentary, which I've yet to watch, that's on Netflix. So it's kind of been back in the overall world here. And there's lots of criticism because Blockbuster, like a Walmart, it was the biggest company for video rentals, and people are criticizing people for the nostalgia they have for a mega company, if you will. And obviously everyone knows where I come from. I worked 9 years at Blockbuster. I met my wife at Blockbuster. Lots of friends. Yes, it was a crappy company to work for the most part, but being around all those movies all day, renting all those films and stuff, being able to just kind of recommend the new foreign film that I saw that nobody else saw, or the new indie film that's out there, was always fun for me. And it really gives me lots of memories. And the one thing I see, too, is Bartlett, Illinois, we had two local indie video stores, but they weren't the grindhouse video stores. You find the really cool movies. They were just regular video stores that were trying to compete with the big video stores. So I get where some people are coming from, but some towns only had Blockbusters. That's all people had to go to, and that was their choice. So it's weird just for me to see people criticize people for having good memories about Blockbuster.
Here's what I'm going to start with. How many relationships, friendships were improved because you were able to go and rent a movie? You were able to sit and have some quality time with some genuine people and just enjoy the evening.
Yeah. Sure.
Blockbuster facilitated that for me countless times. And however you feel about the corporation itself, the service that was provided and the relationships I was able to establish because of the ability to go and rent a movie and experience that, go on that journey with other people and then talk about it and reminisce and have the whole weekend surrounded by a 2.5-hour event. I'm not going to say, or I'm not going to go into how I feel about being critical of people's nostalgia, because who are you to judge somebody else's experience with something? You got to be able to separate it. Let's see. Everybody loved Michael Jordan from the Chicagoland area. Mm-hmm. But he wore Nikes. He was sponsored by Nike. Nike's bad people, suppose, that whole deal.
Right, no, you're right.
We could separate what Michael Jordan was able to do just because he wore Nikes. Does that make him a terrible person? We should shun him? Yes, this is a bit of a stretch of an analogy here, but separate.
And you really have to, because you get the same thing with Facebook, because Mark Zuckerberg's a piece of trash. You get the same thing with Walmart, because they're trash. But you know what? Everybody I know that trashes Facebook shops at Walmart and goes to McDonald's. Everyone I know that trashes Walmart is on Facebook or goes to any of these other places. Apple doesn't treat all their people very well either. Amazon. We all use Amazon, and Amazon's a monster. Yeah. I use it every week, and I get why it's bad, but you can't. I guess my issue is when you go and you criticize something like Blockbuster, but then you're ordering something on Amazon right after you type that tweet. It's kind of hypocritical. You can't be against one and not against all of them. So I've just chosen to acknowledge that the companies that I shop at would support, if you will, I guess. Most of the times they're shitty. But you know what? It's convenient for me. I'm not a rich person, as are you are not a rich person as well. So we buy things where we get the cheapest prices. Walmart offers the cheapest prices. Amazon offers very cheap prices. At the time. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. And there are times where, oh, crap, I forgot about something. Oh, look, Amazon can get that to me tomorrow morning. Well,
exactly.
All right.
And ever since Daddy's Texas oil money had dried up, we have had to live by mega means now, if you will.
I guess it's just one of those things that people just like to be critical of that stuff. And I get criticizing the company. I have no problem with people going on, shaming Amazon, shaming Blockbuster. No problem with that whatsoever. I just don't pick on the people that have the memories and the nostalgia from the place just because you don't have those same memories. And also, if you worked at Hollywood Video or Family Video, those were franchises. They put the mom and pop video stores out of business just like Blockbuster did. Blockbuster just did it first.
Right.
So it wasn't like they were like, oh my God, these indie video companies. All right, so anyway, we just wanted to get that off my chest because being a Blockbuster employee for 9 years, and even as a kid, I went to Choice Video in Bartlett before Blockbuster opened. And then when Blockbuster opened, I was at Blockbuster every weekend because they had, when they were brand new in Bartlett, they had a bigger supply of video games, movies, everything, more so than Choice. And it was more in stock at the time because they would get more copies than Choice Video would. So just something I wanted to talk about. We're going to jump right into the show, though. We are going to talk about foreign films this week. We are going to start off talking mainly about Asian cinema, but we're going to segue into some other foreign films as well. Wayne and I are both fans of Asian cinema. The movie that we're reviewing today is Asian cinema. So that'll be fun when we get to that. But we're going to talk about, to start, I'm going to talk about a really weird one that I don't know if Wayne has seen, but it's strange and people should watch it. And maybe you've heard of it, Wayne. It's called Itchy the Killer.
I have not, but it sounds amazing.
Itchy the Killer is a movie directed by one of my favorite directors, and that's Takashi Miike. I discovered this director actually through Blockbuster in the early 2000s when I worked there. I always referred to him as the Tarantino of Japan because his movies are so bizarre and so out there and so strange that was the only really comparison I could come up with. But he's more than that, though. He's his own director. He does horror, he does action, he does drama, he does love stories. Usually, within those, if he does like a love story, it's going to have a little bit of gore. It's going to have some action, some violence, some craziness. It's not like usually very happy. Even his comedies are very dark. Itchy the Killer, though. So, like I said, directed by Takashi Miike, starring Tanobu Asano, Nao Amari, Shinya Sakamoto, Alien Sun, and Sabu. So one interesting note is Tanobu Asano is actually known to American audiences. One, he'll be Lord Raiden in the movie we'll review next week, Mortal Kombat. And he is Hogun from the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in all three Thor movies. So he is become kind of, a lot of these actors have become known outside of Japan or Korea or China where they're from. This movie, it starts off with a bloodbath. And I'm talking guts hanging everywhere, just disgusting. And it's basically about a mob organization trying to find their mob boss who went missing. And meanwhile, they're chasing this kind of fictional folk hero named Itchy the Killer, who is basically a teenage kid who has been like, the whole idea with this movie is that he saw something happen and that made him wanted to be a hero, but kind of in the wrong ways. It also made him like that kind of person. So he's not necessarily a good person, but he's trying to help people, and he's got someone steering the ship behind him who's making him like basically take out all these mob bosses and whatnot. It's very violent. It's very gory. I was able to rewatch it. I love this movie. It's not for everybody. It's one of those ones that like I recommend cautiously, like because if you watch it, you may be like, "Whoa, Mike's really messed up, man. I don't know if I can ever talk to him again." It's like it's that crazy. And most of Miike's films are like this. He likes to push boundaries. This one specifically was like a statement on violence, but also wanting you to kind of judge for yourself on whether you enjoy it or not. Like, is violence causing the reaction that you're having? It's a really interesting way to do it because he's not saying don't enjoy the violence, but he's kind of giving you to make that decision for yourself.
Is it kind of like is the violence the cause or the solution to the problem?
And that's exactly what kind of the idea is. It's so messed up. The character that let me get back to the page here real quick.
Coming up next on Now Showing with Mike and Wayne, the philosophical undertones of good versus evil, violence versus peace. Please lay on our couch and let me pick your brain with an ice pick. Dun dun dun.
Which may or may not happen in Itchy the Kill. There's lots of spraying blood. So think Kill Bill. Lots of that going on.
Nice.
Which I'm sure was an inspiration to obviously other movies out of Japan have done that as well. But Kakihara is the main protagonist in this film. He's the one trying to chase Itchy down. That is Asano, the one who I said he plays Hogun in the MCU. He has these two slits on his face that, like, when he smokes, he blows out of those slits. He's got piercings. He's got blonde hair. He's just crazy looking. And he's nuts. And, like, pain gives him pleasure. And so that's kind of what he's looking for throughout this whole movie. It's just, again, you're hearing these things, you're like, wow, this sounds like a bizarre movie. It is. It has rape in it. It has torture in it. It has violence, blood, guts, gore, everything. Not the rape stuff, but all the other stuff that I usually enjoy in my very violent movies.
Thank you for clarifying.
I wanted to clarify. But I know there's people that rape obviously is a trigger for them. So I want to make sure if anyone's going to watch this on my recommendation, that they know that kind of stuff is in this movie. So those parts in the movie are not enjoyable. They aren't played to be enjoyable. So they are played to be how they are. It's a gruesome film, but I love it, and I really think people should check it out. Again, Takashi Miike, so many other movies that he's done that I love. Audition, Blade of the Immortal, and 13 Assassins are just three that I would recommend. If you're really feeling rambunctious, try to find Visitor Q. It's really strange, really, really strange. It's a movie I only own so I could hand it to people and be like, here, watch this. It's one of those movies. But you can find Audition on Tubi and AMC Plus, Blades of Immortal on Tubi and Vudu, 13 Assassins on Tubi, Vudu, and Hulu, and Itchy the Killer is available on Shudder, which I've been promoting ever since we started this podcast. I'm going to jump to a movie that I think more people will probably recognize, but it's the one I want to talk about because I love it. I thought it was fantastic when it came out, and that is Roma. And Roma is a movie, Netflix original, that won Best Foreign Film last year only. It feels, or well, not last year, 2 years ago. The year before Parasite swept the Oscars. Give me 1 second here. Just gotta find the Wikipedia. It's where we get all our information. I know people are like, oh, Wikipedia. But you know what? For film and stuff, it has pretty much the basic facts.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I'm just going to touch on just the amazing experience with these foreign films. And so many people shy away from them just because you mean I have to read during the movie, or if we're lucky enough to get an English dub, well, it doesn't sound right because their lips aren't moving correctly. It's like, see past that. Look at the story.
Yes.
Look at what is the experience. You don't need to understand the words to have an experience with this. And, obviously two of the ones that we've talked about several times, Train to Busan and Parasite, two of the biggest films out. Yeah, because they're amazing. And you don't need to understand the language to know what's going on. So
this is very true.
I just want to encourage everybody that if you're hesitant or, you have some kind of bias against it, give these films a chance because it's worth it.
You're really missing out on a lot of great cinema if you're not watching foreign film just because of the subtitles. I mean, me and my wife watch them all the time. We just watched one recently. She's like, you know what? I feel like watching a foreign film today. And so we watched one. We found one on Netflix. We checked it out. Of course, it was about concentration camps. Those are some of the movies that she tends to be drawn to for some reason. But it was a good film. Anyway, back to Roma. Roma, again, like I said, it's a Netflix original, won the Oscar for Best Foreign Film that year, as the 2018 Oscars in 2019. Directed by Alfonso Cuarón. written by him as well, and it stars basically an unknown cast. Yalitza Aparicio, Marina del Tavera, sorry. It's basically about a maid who takes care of this family, and it's their story. It's her story, really. It's supposedly loosely based on Karan's mother, I believe. It's just a more personal story that he wanted to tell. It's a very beautiful film. It definitely takes patience, I think, because it is a slow drama. But if you're willing to be patient enough, it's fantastic. It's one of the best movies I think I've seen in the last 5 years.
You know, when I first saw this, I didn't make the connection between this and Y Tu Mama También.
Yeah.
Forgive how I say that. But
Yeah,
I felt like I was experiencing something along the same lines.
Yes.
And I feel kind of dumb, pretty dumb for not making this connection. A lot of the times, you know, I'm not as focused on who's making what and making that link. I'm just there for the experience. So it totally makes sense now because I got that vibe from it.
Yep.
So
no, it has that kind of realism vibe, almost like you're watching a documentary. Now It's not shot like a documentary, but that's kind of how you're taking it all in. Like you're just engaging with this family and this maid and how everything's going on, and it's such a beautiful film to watch. It's not one of those films that you're like, oh, it's really exciting, like give it a chance. It's not like an action film or anything. It's a drama. So don't be like, oh, it's the guy that directed Harry Potter 3. This should be amazing. It's nothing like Harry Potter Prisoner of Azkaban.
One of my favorites out of the Harry Potter series.
Me as well. And Karan, a big reason for that, because he took it. That's where the series went a little darker. So he is known for that. He is known for making dark movies. I would say Roma's not really a dark film. Y Tu Mama También is a much more closer comparison. It is very similar in the fact that it does actually even involve somewhat sort of a road trip vacation at some point in the film. But just like I said, shot very well. The cinematography is amazing in this film. The writing is fantastic. The editing is great. You really can't do any better. If you missed Roma when it came out, definitely go check it out. I haven't seen it in a little while. I did just buy the Blu-ray Criterion, though, and I'm really excited to kind of dive into that with all the bonus features and whatnot. But yeah, definitely check out Roma on Netflix. Worth your time. And check out Karan's catalog, because he is a fantastic director. Yeah. Who's done lots of great films. Once
you open up his IMDb page and you see what he's been involved with and what he's written, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing right now. I'm like, oh.
he's that good. All right, so we're going to jump back into Asian cinema. I'm going to talk about a movie, and it's unfortunate that this movie is not available really anywhere at the moment, but it's another director that I'm a huge fan of. It is called Oldboy, and it's directed by Park Chan-wook, and he did Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, which are part of that's the Vengeance Trilogy, and Oldboy was probably the first movie. It was the second of the trilogy, but it was the first movie that really kind of shot him into stardom. And it's known for having this amazing hallway fight scene, Wayne. I'm not sure if you've seen Oldboy, but like the fight scene in Daredevil, the TV show, was inspired by Oldboy. And it's this crazy scene. It's the main character with a hammer and like a hallway full of like 13 guys. And it's just like going back and forth, and it's incredible. I wish I could have watched it again this week, but I have my ways. I was going to find it, but I just didn't have time. Right. But it is, unfortunately, like I said, not available to stream anywhere at the moment, rent or purchase, or just stream for free. But if you know how to find streams and stuff online, you can probably find it.
You know how to do some things, yeah.
Yes. So here's the plot. In 1988, a businessman named Oh Dae-soo is arrested for drunkenness, missing his daughter's 4th birthday. After his friend Ju Hwan picks him up from the police station, Dae-soo is kidnapped and wakes up in a sealed hotel room where food is delivered through a trapdoor. Watching TV, Dae-soo learns that his wife has been murdered and he is the prime suspect. He passes the time shadowboxing, planning revenge, and attempting to dig a tunnel to escape. 15 years pass since he was imprisoned. It is now 2003, a new millennium. Just before digging himself to freedom, Dae-soo is sedated and hypnotized. he wakes up on a rooftop and sees a man on the ledge ready to jump to his death. The man asks him, "Even though I am no better than a beast, I don't have the right to live." Daesu leaves the man and tests his fighting skills on a group of thugs. Afterward, a mysterious beggar gives him money and cell phone. So this basically, he is in prison, like it said, and then about 15 years later, he wakes up in a box, and he gets out of that box, and he's still bent on revenge. So he's trying to find out who killed his wife, where his daughter is, and I don't want to spoil anything, even though it's an old movie now. It's 18 years old. The ending is so crazy and just out of left field that you're like, whoa, what the hell just happened? And it's a great film. The action sequences are fantastic. It's very dark. This one is Korean, and it's like I said, unfortunately, it is not available really anywhere at the moment. I'm sure it will be at some point.
I had a question about this.
Sure.
I have not seen it. It shows that it's part of a trilogy, the Vengeance Trilogy?
Yes. So there's Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which I've seen, which is also really good. And then there's Sympathy for Lady Vengeance, which I have yet to watch, which is supposed to be just as good as these two. And they don't really have like a tie-in like character-wise. Okay. It's kind of like the Cornetto trilogy for Edgar Wright, where none of them really tie together. The Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz.
Same universe, though.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's the same, and it's more the same theme. They're all three tales of revenge that he did basically back to back to back. Those were like his 3 movies he released in a short period of time. But yeah, it is the best of the trilogy. At least I haven't seen Lady Vengeance yet. It's my favorite of the 2 I've seen. But it's so good. It's such a crazy, crazy movie. They did remake it. Spike Lee remade it. I have yet to see it. I heard it was not great.
Is that the 2013 version with Josh Brolin?
Josh Brolin and Elizabeth Olsen. A bunch of other people in it, too. I think Charlton...
Samuel L. Jackson.
Charlton Copley, I think, is in it, too.
Ooh, Michael Imperioli. No joke.
Oh, is he? All right. I want to see it just because I like Spike Lee and stuff, but I heard it wasn't great, especially compared to the original.
Rami Malek, Lance Reddick. Well, it's one of those things. The cast looks fantastic, so it looks like I'm in line for a
That one you can get. That one's around somewhere. You can either rent it or it may even be streaming somewhere.
I don't know if I want to see this without seeing the original, though, because if I'm disappointed with one before I see the...
Yeah, true. I would definitely recommend trying to seek out the original if you can. Like I said, there's ways to find it. It's got a great cast, too. Choi Min-sik plays Odae-soo. He has been in another movie that I really love, I Saw the Devil. Was fantastic. He's actually also in Lucy with Scarlett Johansson. He plays the mob boss.
Not to jump in again, but this is what irritates me, because it says it's on IMDb, the iPhone app that I use. It says that it's available on Amazon.
Yeah, they say that for like every movie.
And I click it, I go to Amazon, and I see nothing.
Yeah. It says it'll take you there and it'll say unavailable.
Rage-inducing.
Yes. Hopefully, again, it gets a release soon.
Just so you know, the trilogy is available for $47.
Is it? Okay.
The Vengeance Trilogy. So, I may have to make this commitment in a week or two when I get some cash flow in, but this is good news, because I hate when we find something awesome and we can't find it.
Yes.
Not to completely derail the podcast, which I tend to do.
It's all right. Just a little bit on some of his movies. The other 2 Vengeance movies are available on an app called Mubi. So that is another. It's like it's not just foreign films. It's like indie films. So those 2 are on there. Old Boy is not. Thirst is another one of his. That one is real. That's a vampire flick. That one you could rent or buy right now. That's all I have. The Handmaiden. That one's an Amazon Prime original. That one is actually really good too. That one is available regularly, because if you have Amazon Prime, obviously. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead again. We're gonna jump into another director that's not Asian, and that is Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo del Toro, just his whole resume is amazing. Even some of his bad movies are still really good, like Blade 2. But the one I want to talk about is probably his most famous foreign film, and that is Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes.
Pan's Labyrinth is just a beautiful fantasy film. It's dark. It's depressing. Most of these movies we're talking about today are very depressing. Surprisingly, Roma really wasn't that depressing. It was to an extent, but it's not like this. Like, Pan's Labyrinth is like a gut punch of depression at the end of the movie. So, written, produced by Guillermo del Toro, directed by him, obviously, starring Sergi Lopez, Maribel Verdú, Ivana Baguero, Doug Jones, who is his... I know it's a weird name in there. He's not a Spanish man. Doug Jones plays Pan in a bunch of his other characters. I believe also the man with the eyes on his hands. He is his go-to guy for all that acting, in the makeup and all that stuff.
I always make that connection. The guy, the creature with the eyes in his hands, and then the sidekick in Hellboy.
Yeah, yep. And he's both of them. He played Abe Sapien too.
I thought so.
In the second one, he actually got to voice him. The first one, it was David Hyde Pierce. But he played him in both movies. All right. So Pan's Labyrinth is, man, such a great movie. It's very powerful. A fairy tale, Princess Moana, whose father is the king of the underworld, visits the human world where the sunlight blinds her and erases her memory. She becomes mortal and eventually dies. The king believes that eventually her spirit will return to the underworld, so he builds labyrinths, which act as portals around the world in preparation for her return. 1944, Spain. 10-year-old Ophelia travels with her pregnant but sickly mother, Carmen, to meet Captain Vidal, her new stepfather. Vidal, the son of a famed commander who died in Morocco, believes strongly in Phalangism and has been assigned to hunt down Republican rebels. A large stick insect, which Ophelia believes to be a fairy, leads Ophelia into an ancient stone labyrinth, but she is stopped by Vidal's housekeeper, Mercedes, who is secretly supporting her brother Pedro and the other rebels. That night, the insect appears in Ophelia's bedroom, where it transforms into a fairy and leads her through the labyrinth. There, she meets a faun who believes she is the reincarnation of Princess Moana. He gives her a book and tells her she will find it. Three tasks to complete in order for her to acquire immortality and return to her kingdom. So, it's a movie. It's similar to something like A Monster Calls, which I talked about a couple weeks ago. It's a fantasy that's kind of brought that this little girl comes up with to escape something traumatic that's happening in her life. And it's just, again, like, this is where the creature effects really shine for Guillermo del Toro. That was the one thing, going back and looking at something like Blade 2, which was one of his, not his first American movie, but probably his most well-known before he did Hellboy. And he was forced to kind of use a lot of CGI in that one. I don't know if forced is the right word, but he used a lot of CGI in Blade 2, and it wasn't great. So then when he did Hellboy, he started going more towards the creatures again. Mm-hmm. And then when he did Pan's Labyrinth, it was his own creation, so he was just allowed to go
even in Hellboy 2, the creatures were really frighteningly cool, though.
The creatures in Hellboy 1 are good, but Hellboy 2 really, after he did Pan's Labyrinth, he went and did Hellboy 2, and you could tell that he took the ideas that he had from Pan's Labyrinth and put them into Hellboy 2 of like, hey, I want these kind of creatures, and the creature effects in Hellboy 2 are, bar none, some of the best stuff that he's ever done.
Yeah.
And Pan's Labyrinth, I think, was the jumping off point for that. Led to Shape of Water and how cool that movie looked. And it's this great foreign flick that I think people have seen it. But if you haven't, it's on Netflix right now. Check it out because it is such a good movie. And he's so talented. He's one of my favorite directors because everything he does, it's probably inspired by something else, like Shape of Water is like the creature from the Black Lagoon, but he takes these ideas that are inspired by other works of art and turns them into his own little fantasy that's just so different and so strange than anything that you've ever seen. The fact that Shape of Water, essentially a movie about a woman who falls in love with a fish man, won Best Picture at the Oscars, is just insane, and it's great, in my opinion. Not everybody loved that movie. I did, but it's just the whole aesthetic that he brings to cinema is what's important. And I think having someone like him we've only I think honestly touched the surface of what he can bring us, and I think that the future stuff that he's going to bring is just going to be crazy. And if he gets to do his House of Madness, which is this I think H.P. Lovecraft stuff that he wants to do, it's going to be incredible. So we'll see. But Pan's Labyrinth, like I said, is on Netflix. Chronos, which is another one of his earlier ones, is on HBO Max. That one I just saw for the first time. Really, really, really well done. Devil's Backbone, you could rent or buy it. The Orphanage, he just produced that one, but you could rent or buy that one. Just a fantastic director, and if you haven't seen his movies, I definitely recommend checking it out. And now we're going to get to one I know that Wayne wanted to talk about, and we're going to talk about Parasite. From another one of my favorite directors. I know it's weird because I got a lot of favorite directors, but I just do. I'm a movie buff. So how I do it. Parasite came out a couple years ago already. Weird to say a couple years ago at this point. It is the movie that basically swept the Oscars. It's the first one to win Best Foreign Film and Best Picture in the same year. Obviously, it's the only way you can do it. So it's directed by Bong Joon-ho, who we talked about a couple weeks ago when we did their monster discussion, because he did a movie called The Host, which I'm a huge fan of. And it stars Song Kang-ho, Lee Sung-kyun, Cho Yo-young, Choi Woo-shik, Park So-dam, Lee Young-eun, and Yang Hai-yin. So those are the main cast. That's the family, the main family, and then the family that they kind of secretly live in their house. Parasite is a movie that is about a poor family in South Korea that ends up living in another family, a rich family's house, while they're out of town. That I think the wife works for, right? I think the wife and the husband end up working for them. The whole family ends up working for them at some point.
The son becomes the driver. The daughter becomes the sitter house.
No, the dad's the driver.
The dad becomes the driver. Okay. The son is the tutor. That's what it is.
That's what it was, yes.
That's how they get the end. Yeah, so the whole family ends up working for the well-off family. Yeah, crazy plot twist. They get the current maid housekeeper fired.
Yes.
And do we want to talk about the twist, or do we just kind of want to let people discover this for themselves?
It's on Hulu and Amazon, or it's on Hulu at least. People need to, I think, discover this one. We'll talk a little more about it, though, because it's still relatively new. I don't want to give it the twist away.
You have to watch to see how the Parasite aspect comes into play, because it's not just that cut and dry. It's got a pretty significant whoa moment.
It does. It really does, and it's a very crazy movie, and people fell in love with it when it came out a couple years ago because of the class warfare of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that it changes tone throughout the movie. At one point it's kind of a comedy, at another point it becomes like a thriller, and then by the end of it it's like a horror film.
Yeah.
So it really kind of goes through these different genres, and it does it really well, I think.
Without going into detail, I was sitting there going, there's no way they're going to do that. Oh my God, they did it.
Yeah. Yep, and movies like that can be really great. Sometimes you'll get to that moment where you're like, they're not going to do that, and they do it, and you're pissed off. But we talked, the Stylist had an ending like that. We're like, they're not going to do it. Oh my God, they did it. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how Parasite was. It was just, you were like, holy, no, they're not, no, and they did it. And you're just like, holy shit.
Girl, don't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just thinking about doing it. I did it.
Exactly. I only know that because my wife's on TikTok all the damn thing.
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, Parasite, it's a fantastic movie. It isn't my favorite of his, probably not, but it was really great to see him accept every Oscar ever.
Yeah.
You got a Best Writing, Best Directing, Best Picture. It was just nice to see Bong get up there and be showered in love for, when you have a director or an actor, and it's the same with an athlete, someone that you admire, that you really, thought, followed their career, whether it's sports or movies. It's nice to see them get accolades for it. So it's just the same for me. as a Bears fan, if I see a player I really like from our team go on to another team and win a Super Bowl, I'm happy for them because it's someone I like to see do well.
You had to go there, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Because we're never going to be winning a Super Bowl ever in the next 100 years. We'll be dead by the time they win a Super Bowl. Anyway, away from depressing Bears news.
Back to what you were saying about Boone winning so many awards, man. He was running out of arm space, shelf space.
He was.
And there's just something to be said about the director, who's also the writer, who's you can just tell how much passion how much passion and energy he put into this.
Yeah.
And for him to be rewarded in this way was just really refreshing, honestly.
Yeah.
And
it was great to see that be the movie. I almost wish Roma would have done it the year before because there was speculation that was going to win Best Picture and Best Foreign Film. But it was nice to see Parasite do it just 1 year later, be that movie that kind of broke through and took home all the awards.
And just after all the drama in past years about Oscars #SoWhite and just the whitewashing aspects of it, and seeing the same actresses and actors nominated over and over and over again, and not taking anything away from their performances, but let's change it up. Let's get some variety in there, And it was, look at me, I'm stirring the pot. I got my big stick out, and I got the pot boiling, and here I go.
And it was funny, too, because of all the success they had, there is still the criticism that none of the actors were nominated, which is a shame, I think, because some of them gave career best performances. But I do think this year with the Oscars, with the movie Minari, which is nominated for Best Picture, to see Steve Ewan get nominated and see the woman that plays the grandma get nominated, that's a step forward. That's a step in the right direction that I wish they would have taken with Parasite, but they did, and that's okay. Parasite, again, it won so many other Oscars, and it was nice to see Bong just keep getting up on stage, and basically by the end, when they won Best Picture, running out of shit to say. He was just like, I don't know. Thanks. So it was kind of fun to just see him having to get up on stage every time that they were nominated. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's on Hulu. Check it out. We talked about The Host a couple weeks ago. You can check The Host out on Hulu as well. Okja, which is another one of his. That one is on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. That one is actually in Korean and in English. It stars Jake Gyllenhaal as well as many other American actors. And Stephen Ewan is actually in that one as well. That one's a really good movie. It's a kind of a children's... It's almost like The Host, which is a monster movie, but it's a positive movie. It's about a giant pig. But we love the pig. Instead of The Host, we hate the monster. So it's a little different. But it's similar in tone and everything.
Giant pig, I feel attacked.
So I'm going to talk one more movie, then I'm going to throw out a bunch of recommendations. We're going to end here on, let's see, what have I not talked about recently? You know what, we're going to go old here. It's probably one of the first foreign films that I saw that, thank my sister for this one, called Run, Lola, Run. And it is a German film from 1998. It's directed by Tom Tykwer. It stars Franco Batente, Maurice Bleibtreu, Herbert Knapp, and a bunch of other Germans.
For those of you that are having trouble identifying Franca, think The Bourne Identity.
Yes, Bourne Identity and Bourne Supremacy for a little bit. There's some other really good movies she's done. I like her a lot. She's a great actress. I think she's making her directorial debut recently. So Run Lola Run was spoofed on The Simpsons, but I think it was Run Lisa Run. That's a great episode. So Lola receives a frantic phone call from her boyfriend, Manny, a bagman responsible for delivering 100,000 Deutschmarks. Over the phone, Manny explains that he was riding the subway to the drop-off location of the money and panicked at the sight of ticket inspectors exiting the train before realizing that he had left the money bag behind. He saw a homeless man examining it as the train pulled away. Manny is meeting his boss in 20 minutes and will be killed unless he has the money. He's about to rob a nearby supermarket to replace the funds. Lola implores Manny to wait for her and decides to ask her father, a bank manager, for help. So this is one of those movies that it has like a bunch of different timelines. And it's basically Lola trying to save the day but then having to like go back and kind of repeat the day and figure out another way to save her boyfriend's life.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it in a long time. It's a really good movie. I really recommend this one. I saw it. I believe I saw it in theaters with my sister. If not, it was on home video. But if anyone knows my sister, she teaches German. She has for 20 years. So she's always big on the German films, especially when she went to Germany for the first time. So this is one of those movies that I was shown early, and it's really good. It's very suspenseful, even for not being like an action film. But have you seen this one, Wayne?
I have not.
Okay.
Maybe, possibly, but I don't recall it very well, so I'm going to go no.
So it is really well done. Franca, it's what kind of shot her into fame because it became known to American audiences. And it's just a really great, fun movie. I may, again, some of the plot points may be missing because I haven't seen it in quite some time. But it is just one of those movies that you need to see. And it's short, too. So if you could find it, you have to rent or buy it. It's not streaming anywhere at the moment. It probably will be at some point. It's one of those movies that kind of pops up here and there. It's only 80 minutes, so it's a real quick watch, too. But here, budget $1.75 million. It made $22.9 million. That's big for a foreign film back in the day.
I would say so.
Tom Tykwer, the director. A couple other ones that he did that I liked. Princess and the Warrior, also with Franca. That one was really good. He's the guy, he worked with the Wachowskis on the Cloud Atlas. He's the third director in that one. And then he also did Perfume, the Story of a Murderer, which I really like too. And he did a movie called Heaven with what was that? Kate Blanchett, I think, right? Yeah, Kate Blanchett and Giovanni Ribisi, which was decent back in 2002. But Run, Lola Run, definitely check it out if you get a chance to see it. Really good movie. To start the recommendation section, we'll start with one I know Wayne and I are both high on, and that's Train to Busan. We've talked about Train to Busan a lot on this show. It is seriously one of the best zombie movies probably ever made, I would say.
Oh, yeah. Definitely this century.
Yeah. It's so intense. Just a crazy-ass movie. It was on Netflix. It's now moved off of Netflix, but it's on Shudder right now. There is a sequel, which is also on Shudder. It's not supposed to be as good. It's apparently more of like an action flick, but I still want to watch it. It's called Peninsula. But Train to Busan you can check out on Shudder. It's just a really fun killer zombie flick. One of my favorites, I Saw the Devil, is a kind of like a Seven type serial killer movie. That one it's cool though, Wayne, because it's the story of a man who his girlfriend gets murdered by a serial killer. So then he hunts the serial killer down like a serial killer. He starts taunting with them.
That was a great season on Dexter.
Yes.
I loved it.
It's basically that. But it's great. It's a fantastic movie. You can catch it on Tubi, Vudu, and Crackle for free. Or if you have Amazon Prime, it is also on Amazon Prime. The Wailing, another Korean film, is on Shudder. It's a horror movie about witches. Really, really good. Great movie. Happiness of the Katakuris is currently on Tubi and Amazon Prime. That is from my guy Takashi Miike. It is a horror comedy musical. It is fantastic. It's weird. It's so strange and bizarre. You got to see it. It's a really crazy movie. Another more recent one. Let's see. The Vengeance series, like I said, the Lady and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance are both on Mubi. The Witch Part 1, The Subversion, is a movie on Netflix that is really good. I just saw it recently. It's fantastic. I really recommend people checking it out. We didn't talk about my other guy, the director of Timo, who did Headshot and The Night Comes for Us. Night Comes for Us I talked about on our action movie podcast episode, and I still recommend it. You can also catch May the Devil Take You and Headshot, which are both his on Netflix. They are all great. The Raid, you can rent or buy that one. That's a great movie, a great action flick. Let's see. And then non-Asian cinema. Goodnight Mommy is a German horror film. It's on Tubi and Amazon Prime. The Devil's Backbone is another Guillermo del Toro. You could rent or buy that one. The Orphanage, rent or buy. He produced that one. That's a really good ghost story. I like that movie a lot. The Hunt with Mads Mikkelsen is a movie about a girl who tells a lie about a teacher that ruins his life. It is called. It is on Tubi and Vudu for free. Another Round, also starring Mads Mikkelsen from the same director of The Hunt, is on Hulu. That's nominated for Best Picture this year. Let's see. The Platform is a horror film on Netflix. Really good. Tigers Are Not Afraid is fantastic. Mexican film on Shudder. It's really, really good ghost story. Mommy is on Tubi. That's a drama about a kid who has like mental issues. Really good. That one is on Tubi. I really recommend that one. It's one of those movies when like things are going really bad in the movie. It's full screen, so it's 4:3. And then when things start to go well, then it pans out and gets to widescreen. And if it gets tight again, it goes. It uses the aspect ratio to tell its story, which I thought was really cool. Let the Right One In is a classic vampire flick. Everyone knows that one. Hulu and AMC. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is on Shudder, a vampire movie I talked about when we talked about vampire movies. Amelie is on Showtime, another really good
2001.
Yep, French film, very good. It's the only French one we talked about. Frontier is another French one. Frontier is, I think, it's like a French Texas Chainsaw Massacre. La Lorna is on Shudder. That one just came out last year. That was fantastic. And The Portrait of a Lady on Fire is on Hulu. I want to talk about this movie real quick because SNL did a spoof last week where they spoofed movies about lesbian romance, and they used this one as an example. And I want to kind of correct SNL, not that they'll ever listen to this, but they made fun of the movies of lesbian romance movies, which a lot of them are directed by men and involve sex scenes that lesbians claim are not, real sex scenes, which I get. I get the criticism of that. However, they used Portrait of a Lady on Fire as an example, directed by a woman who is a lesbian who's dating one of the women in the movie, so that makes one of the stars of the movie a lesbian. So there was a lot of lesbians on that set that I think they probably got that one right, but maybe the people that did the spoof on SNL didn't actually watch the movie, so that could be part of
Well, I'm sure they watched part of the movie.
Maybe that's
Log fake news.
So, yes. So, the other one they made fun of was the new one with Saoirse Ronan and Kate Winslet, which I haven't seen yet, which is on Hulu. That one, I think, was directed by a guy, so I kind of get that criticism. But, again, Portrait of a Lady on Fire was one of my favorite movies of last year. It was my top 10. I put it at number 1, even though technically it came in 2019. But for America, it came out in 2020. Yeah. It's a great movie. It's on Hulu. It's a great romance. I really recommend people checking it out. Don't believe the negativity by SNL, which I still watch SNL and enjoy SNL. Not a lot of people hate SNL. But to me, when they made that joke, I was like, well, that's not fair, because this movie does not really represent what they were making fun of. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was that. We're going to move on to our...
I have one more I wanted to add on there. Sorry.
Go ahead,
City of God.
Ooh, yes. How could I forget
Poverty-stricken favelas of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in the 1970s. Just without going into too much detail, fantastic movie. It's on Hulu right now.
It's a great movie. Really,
check it out.
Really good flick. It's one of those ones that, like, if you haven't seen City of God, get on Hulu right now and watch it, because it's that good. I totally can't believe I forgot about it. There's so many foreign films I've seen that I'm sure there's a lot that I'm not mentioning right now. That's another great one to recommend. Thank you, Wayne, for bringing that up, because I didn't even realize it's on Hulu. If you have Hulu, go watch City of God right now, after you're done listening to our podcast, of course, because we got more stuff to talk about. We are now going to go into our review
of the week.
And this week we have a foreign film, which is why we decided to talk foreign films. There wasn't a lot going on for movies being released this week, so I chose Ride or Die, which is a lot cooler title than the movie. It's not to say it's a bad movie, but like you hear Ride or Die, you're expecting maybe a gang fight movie or something like that. It's not that. So
she was definitely Ride or Die, though.
She was Ride or Die. I would compare it to anything. It's a lot like Thelma and Louise.
I was going to say Thelma and Louise all the way.
The whole movie, that's what I was thinking. All right, so let's get into the kind of the details here first. Ride or Die just hit Netflix, a Netflix original, directed by Ryuichi Hiroki. It is out of Japan. It is a love story that starts off very violent. This woman is in a relationship with another woman, and she gets a phone call Well, so first they actually back up. Starts out with a woman in a bar who meets a guy, and then she goes back to the hotel room and she brutally murders him. And then we kind of go backwards and figure out why that happened. And it turns out that it was a former lover of her from 10 years ago. And she, in one day, was like, yeah, I guess I'll help you get out of your abusive relationship by murdering your husband. And that's where the movie kicks off. That's basically how we get started.
Yeah, the visuals on that, what the abused woman has gone through, and just what you see, the aftermath of what was done to her. It's like, you know what? I'd probably try and help her too.
Yes, exactly. It's understandable for sure. It definitely it's only gory for like 5 minutes, but it's in the very beginning of the movie, and there is definitely a lot of gratuitous sex in this film. So if that's something you can't handle, don't watch it.
Yeah.
But it's done. I would say it's done tastefully. It's not done to like be like horny or anything. You know, to like showcase like, ooh, look, we got sex in it.
It was artfully done. For sure.
Exactly. It's a long movie. It's almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But I found myself enjoying it, Wayne. I don't know about you, but like for me, it was. There were parts where I was like, yeah, they probably could have cut some stuff out of it, but overall, I thought it was a really well done movie. I thought the performances were very good. There is also another trigger might be suicide, because they do talk about that a lot in this movie. It's almost like Thelma and Louise meets Romeo and Juliet, if you will.
Very true.
And it really has that Thelma and Louise feel, because they're like on the run, so in a car and stuff. So it really does. I honestly expected him to drive off the cliff at the end. It does not happen that way.
For me, it threw me a lot, because we start out real like action packed, almost slasher. It's like, all right, that's how we're going. Slows down. There's that misdirection again. It's like, well, I called the police. And that whole misdirection there.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, here we go again. No, never mind.
It does do that a lot, where it feels like it's going to get more, I guess, action-packed, if you will, or more suspenseful. It really isn't a suspense film. It's more of a romance between two women. And kind of like the back and forth. Bound was another one it reminded me of, with Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon.
I had fond memories of that from my youth.
Joey Pants did it for you, didn't he?
Yes, sir. Ralphie Cifaretto.
Yes. No, it's so. Like I said, it was a movie that I didn't know much about when I picked it, so I was kind of curious to see what it was going to be, and I enjoyed it. I really had a good time with it. Like I said, it is a bit long, but if you're sitting on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon and you don't have much to do, it's on Netflix. It doesn't cost you anything unless you don't have Netflix.
It costs you your most valuable thing, which is your time.
Yes.
And what is your time worth?
I thought the performances were really good by, let me see if I can pronounce these names, Kiko Mizuhara and Honami Sato. And they were both Ray and Nene, I think.
Definitely the best story I've seen with a character named Ray in 5 to 7 years. Read into that what you will.
Nice. This is teasing. We will be having a Star Wars themed episode, though, coming up soon. Anyway.
I will be tough but fair.
So Wayne, what are your final thoughts on Ride or Die?
Yeah, it was a bit long for me, and it bogged down in the middle a little bit, but overall, the story is there, and you do end up caring about the characters, so it checks the boxes.
Yeah, it has a very crazy romance to it as well, so kind of be prepared for that. Very nutty, very sensual, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good flick, and I'm up for anything. We'll review whatever we think looks good, and this is one of those ones that, just like I said, it was kind of a slow week for new movies, but I'm glad that we got to watch this one, and it was worth. I think it was worth the time. Next week we will be back to the more popular fare with Mortal Kombat.
It's another love story.
Yeah, another love story
of violence.
It does include
murder.
Very similar violence of slicing of throats, I would imagine. But yeah, so you can check out Ride or Die on Netflix. Tell us what you think. Reply back to us in the comments or whatever, and see if let us know if you liked it. So on to our next segment. Why this movie? This week we reviewed the 1975 science fiction classic, The Giant Spider Invasion, directed by Bill Rebane, starring, I think, the only person I've ever heard of, and that's Alan Hale Jr., who was the skipper on Gilligan's Island. And he plays the sheriff, who has a very long V-neck in this film, Wayne, I thought, for a sheriff. I was like, that's not very professional.
Rocking it.
See, lots of skin.
I did not place him until you said that just now. I'm like, I know I've seen that guy before.
See, right? And the whole movie, I was like that. So at the end, I looked it up, and I'm like, I kind of thought that's who it was, just because he looked like him, but I wasn't sure. This movie, of course, has been on Mystery Science Theater 3000, which makes a lot of sense, because it's really that bad. It's a movie where a beam of light comes down, and you see really cheap special effects, and everyone goes to figure out what's going on. Well, it's really boring for the first 45, 50 minutes.
And I gave it credit because we didn't see the monster right away.
We didn't.
But then we started seeing the monsters, and it's like... You say it was made in 1975. It felt like 1935 to me.
It did. Because the monsters, everybody, are giant spiders, as the movie can tell you. The title can tell you. They're literally giant foam spiders that were cheaply made and horribly done. And it's comical when they come out, which to me was hilarious. It's the only time I started enjoying the movie, because it was pretty terrible up until then. The acting is really awful. The dialogue is terrible.
The cameras are bad. The camera movement and placement is bad.
The focus, they're there's frustrating.
Isn't there supposed to be focus?
Right, yes. They would zoom out, and you're like, oh, well, they must be going to focus on something else. Nothing else on the screen would come into focus, and the character's face would just remain out of focus. So I was confused. It wasn't great. It was boring, and it's not very long. It's an hour and 20 minutes. So for the first 75% of the movie, you're really just kind of bored until the spiders come. And then the one spider, when he takes down the entire house, and the girl's still alive. It was just a really weird movie. I'd never heard of it before. I looked up bad, awful fun movies or whatever, and it popped up. And it was on Amazon, of course, because Amazon Prime carries most of these films. It's just, it's not really worth your time unless you maybe want to get drunk and see some really awful-looking giant spiders. That's all I would recommend it for.
Yeah, it's...
And if you want to see the skipper from Gilligan's Island play a cheery police officer, even when he's talking about murder and mayhem. It's really just a really bizarre film. Kind of one of those you look at and you're just wait, what? Wayne's right. It totally feels like something that would have come out in 1935 or 1945 or something like that.
A bad student film, I think.
1950s maybe too. Yeah, a bad student. Yeah, but the 50s would have been, and I think that's probably what it was trying to do, but it didn't have the budget to spoof that genre correctly. So it really just ends up being a really bad
Unless
movie.
You're a fan of the softcore romper movies where there's a lot of scantily clad women, but you don't actually see any nudity.
There is a little bit of nudity towards the end, which came out of left field. I was like, huh? I didn't know they were going to show nudity in this movie.
Yes. But anyway, you can probably skip this one unless you and your people are just kind of looking for something fun to get drunk to and make fun of.
It may have started the whole stepfather-stepdaughter thing. It's that stepfather was hitting on that stepdaughter really hard in this movie, which was really kind of creepy.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. The spanking thing. You get your jollies off.
Yeah. Very, very, very strange. And then the cousin of the stepfather also wanting to get in on that. It's very strange. Very strange.
You got to keep it in the family, the ties that bind.
And they're like, well, we're not blood. And I'm like, wow. That's
that's a bit rapey.
Someone wrote this.
Well, just the fact that they use the Christian revival meetings.
Yes. Oh, God.
Is an excuse to go and sleep with the waitress at the local.
Yep. All right, so we're moving on from that, getting into what we've watched this week. It is called Mauthausen, the photographer of Mauthausen. So Mauthausen was a concentration camp somewhere. I'm not sure if it was in Germany or in Spain, but it was basically held a bunch of Spaniards who were caught in the middle of the whole war that was going on. And they were caught by the Nazis, and they were brought to this concentration camp. And it revolves around the main character, who is a photographer, and he gets to kind of learn with one of the Nazi photographers, and also learn that guy's a psycho. So it's basically about how they were able to save photos that showed what the Nazis really were. Because a lot of people probably don't know this unless you studied it. The Nazis were big in propaganda, so maybe you know that because that's a big thing people know. But what they would do was they would take pictures of these concentration camps. Like in the movie, there's a scene of 4 people playing chess. It's like, oh, look, we're not treating them badly. They're playing chess. Or, hey, they're playing out in the yard. They're playing, sports or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they would send those photos out to the public and be like, see, we're not doing bad. These guys are just fine. And they weren't. They were being tortured. They were being murdered, gassed, shot in the head, whatever be it, that's what was happening to them. So a group of them got together and decided that they were going to save the photos that were the evidence of what these guys really were. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of this gripping story about how these men were able to work together, even with some of the women that were in the camp too, and get these photos and save them. It's a true story. I'm not sure how true the movie is to that, what actually happened, but they did get these pictures out to the public, and they were part of the Nuremberg trials and whatnot that helped put some of the Nazis to death.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting movie. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. Definitely recommend checking it out. Another thing I watched, Rebecca and I just finished it. It's a new Netflix series. It is foreign. It's from Mexico, so it's in Spanish. It's called Who Killed Sarah? It's kind of like a telenovela. How do you say it?
Telenovela? Telenovela?
It's kind of like a telenovela, but with really good acting, and it doesn't look like trash. So it doesn't look like a soap opera. It looks like an actual series. But for American audiences, it reminded me a lot of the thriller Revenge from like 10, 15 years ago, whenever that came out. It's very much like that. Lots of like, oh, well, this person doesn't know what's going on. And then like, oh, but they knew what was going on the whole time. And it's like, it's a lot of that, but it's done really well. It's 10 episodes. They actually, at the end, they show a trailer for the second season. So the second season's already done. So I'm assuming it'll hit soon. We enjoyed it. We had a good time with it. It's kind of hokey at times, but it was a fun little series to watch. If you like watching like mysteries and stuff, it was a good show. So I recommend checking that out. Other than that, I did not watch anything else this week, Wayne. So anything else you got?
I want to talk about Hillbilly Elegy. I finally got around to seeing this. I don't understand the hate. I thought this was a fantastic movie. I think Amy Adams' role and portrayal of Bev is incredible. It's about a family from, I believe, Ohio and Kentucky, where, there's a lot of dependencies, a lot of domestic violence, a drug-addicted parent who does terrible things to her children. It should have some trigger warnings because, there's some pretty sensitive stuff in there. Both Glenn Close and Amy Adams. I think Glenn Close is up for the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
Yes.
She did. I thought the character portrayal was fantastic. I don't think Amy Adams got anything.
She did not get nominated.
That is a crime to me because...
it's because their movie wasn't reviewed well enough, I think, is why.
And I don't understand that at all. It was fantastic. It's a story written by J.D. Vance. I believe it's his autobiography or biography of some kind. He's a Yale graduate, he's a Yale graduate of something. I don't know exactly.
Yeah. He's trying to get a job as a lawyer when all this is going on.
Yeah, he's in his interviews for a very
like an internship or something like
Yeah.
that. Right? Yeah.
Opening the door to a fantastic career where he's got to come back to his abusive childhood to deal with his drug-addicted mother and, help his sister out. I thought this was a fantastic movie, and it's throughout it's a tragic tale, but without giving anything away, you want to experience it from beginning to end. I'm looking forward to watching this again. Again, Amy Adams and Glenn Close are fantastic in this movie. So.
Yeah, it was one of those movies. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either, like everybody else seems to do. I thought too the performances were genuinely good performances. I thought Amy Adams definitely had a shot. I think just some other movies came out, and some other movies around award season time. Some other movies were getting a lot hotter, I guess, if you will. But I'm sure she'll get her Oscar eventually because she's Amy.
Well, I'm gonna say it right now, and I might even piss you off right here now. I would give the award to Amy Adams over Viola Davis.
Wow. Okay. See, and I actually have changed. I think I would give it to Andre Day, who might win for the Billie Holiday.
I have yet to see that yet. So,
and she's amazing in that movie. I would have given Amy Adams the Oscar for Arrival, or I would have given it to her for whatever other several American Hustle. But this movie, it really has been very polarizing for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily understand it. Like I said, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. But a lot of people seem to really hate it. Glenn Close got nominated for an Oscar and a Razzie, so that for the same role.
Really?
Yeah, which is very rarely happens. Now the Razzies, they basically go with what's hot right now, so they just pick on people didn't like this movie, so we're going to nominate her. And they probably nominated her knowing that she was going to get an Oscar nomination, so they could have that distinction.
See, she is both a great character and a terrible character.
Yes.
So the level of depth and the character development, fantastic.
Well, and the thing is sometimes people are the way they are, and so because I had a lot of video for old family videos, I believe, to watch to kind of get the characters down.
Right.
So what is brought up as overacting may simply just be how those two characters were, and were very high strung in real life, and that's just how they were played. And what we see is two actresses going out there, and and some people will say that's overacting.
Yeah.
But what could be is just that's who those flipping people were.
See, these are my people. This is what I come from. So I know that's just how extra these people can be. So
that's just it. And there is a lot of that to it. I think just people not believing that these type of people really exist when they do.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original now because of COVID, basically. Yeah. So you can check it out. Anything else that you watched you want to talk about?
Well, as a glutton for punishment and loving to rewatch things, I'm starting The Sopranos again.
Oh, jeez. I still got to finish I only watched, I think, through the second to last season.
Yeah.
So, and I stopped at season 2 of my last go-around, so I got to pick it back up.
I also am starting Boardwalk Empire as well, so.
I still have to watch the final season of that. The first 4 I thought were really good. I was a big fan of that show. Have you watched it before?
No.
Okay, you'll have to let me know, because there's some stuff that happens that early on, too, that you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's a good show, though. I really like that one. Other recommendations I have, Netflix actually just added a bunch of horror films that I think people should watch. Possession, Bride of Chucky, Child's Play 2 and 3, and Seed of Chucky are now all on Netflix. Insidious, which is amazing. I love it. Leprechaun, we talked about during our Irish-themed episode. Let's see. Babysitter, which is got a sequel that's on there. It's supposed to be really good. Hellfest, just added. Love that movie. Before I Wake, another really good one. Our House, The Invitation. I can't speak, apparently. Scary Movie 5, just kidding. Don't watch that. Let's see. I think that's about it. But there's a lot of good movies that they just added that I recommend people go check out. Girl on the Third Floor is another really good one. That one's been on there for a little bit. It comes at night. But yeah, Netflix horror. Got a lot of good stuff up there. Black Coat's Daughter. I'm just seeing a bunch of stuff. I keep scrolling through. I'll stop talking because I'm just going to keep naming more movies. So go over to Netflix, check out their horror movies. They got a lot of good stuff up there. All right, I'm going to get to the news and notes here for the week.
Next on the next Michael Wayne, Michael reads off the titles of the movies he appreciates.
All right, Jordan Vaught Roberts he's the director of Kong Skull Island. He's going to direct the Gundam movie, which is an anime series, I think, for Netflix. Charlton Copley from District 9 is going to be in season 2 of Russian Doll on Netflix. Wayne, have you seen Russian Doll yet?
I have not seen Russian Doll yet.
You need to watch it.
Okay.
It is Natasha Lyonne, and it's like Groundhog Day story. It's 10 episodes, 30-minute episodes. It's fantastic. She is hilarious.
Where do I find this?
On Netflix.
Netflix
Russian
original.
Dolls. Russian Doll, yeah.
Wow.
Really good show. I'm glad season 2 is finally getting going. I was worried that it was going to be a victim of the pandemic, and they were just going to cancel it, but they did not.
Don't do it the way they did Glow.
I know. So hopefully they'll keep it going.
Bring back Glow.
Yes. Lucy Liu joins Shazam 2. A lot of people have been joining that sequel. Thomas Jane to star with his own daughter Harlow in a thriller called Dig. Young Guns 3 rumored to be in the works. I am super excited about this, Wayne, because I'm a huge Young Guns and Young Guns 2 fan. I understand that they are not true story westerns. They're basically just bubblegum westerns, and I love the shit out of those 2 movies. I'm excited to see if they do a third one, because if anyone remembers, in Young Guns 1 and 2, Emilio Estevez is telling his own story as like a 90-year-old man. So he's probably like in his 50s right now. There's still a possibility for him to come back and tell more of his fake Billy the Kid adventures, since Billy the Kid did die like when he was like really young.
Quiet. Oh, wrong Emilio movie. Do you think they're gonna call this one Rusty Guns?
Well, and the rumor apparently, and I would be all for it, Lou Diamond Phillips may be back, baby, and I love Lou Diamond Phillips. He is fantastic in that movie, and I hope they bring Kiefer back too. They'd have to explain again after how they didn't die, because in the first movie everybody dies, and then in the second movie, the ones they bring back, they got to explain how they actually lived, and then they'd have to do the same thing with this one, because basically everybody dies again.
Just kidding, we're back.
Yes, so I'd be excited for that one. Apparently,
well, obviously they faked their own deaths, like so many of the Western cowboy villains did.
Exactly. And apparently it's Emilio. It was an interview with Lou Diamond Phillips, and he said Emilio called him about it last year. So they are working on it. Side note, I've been watching the Mighty Ducks TV show on Disney+. I enjoy it. Nice. Fun show. It's good to see Gordon Bombay back. Hit new Netflix show Bridgerton has been renewed for 2 more seasons before season 2 has even started shooting. So if you haven't seen that one, it's basically Pride and Prejudice, but with lots of sex. Slumber Party Massacre remake heading to Sci-Fi Channel. Renfeld film is on the way from Universal. Renfeld is the sidekick, basically, to Dracula in the Dracula movies. He's getting his own movie. People have no idea. Or Renfield.
Renfield. The most prominent Renfield is from Dracula Dead and Loving It, in my opinion. Renfield, you asshole!
Great movie. I love that. Anytime we can talk Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yes.
Arlington Road, I don't know if people remember this movie with Tim Robbins and Jeff Bridges. It was about terrorism back in like 1999, I think. It's going to become a Paramount Plus TV series. Hugh Jackman and Laura Dern are going to star in The Son from Florian Zeller, who is the director of The Father, so I'm assuming he'll do the mother and then the daughter at some point to finish out his quadrilogy. And that's a joke, people. I don't think The Son is any relation to The Father, but who knows? Maybe it does.
Anything Hugh Jackman, I'm going to watch.
Yes, I agree.
From now on!
Mike Flanagan is directing a sci-fi horror movie, The Season of the Passage. Jacob Tremblay joins Peter Dinklage in Macon Blair's Toxic Avenger reboot. Super excited about this movie. Cannot wait for it to be released. I don't even know who's playing what's going to happen, but I'm excited. Anytime there could be a new Toxie movie, and this is going to be like a big budget one, it seems. I'm really excited. Mads Mikkelsen joins the ever-growing cast of Indiana Jones 5. Always great to have Mads in anything, so we'll see how that turns out. I know people were not happy with 4, so hopefully 5 will not suck. It is different director this time, though, too. It's James Mangold. So it'll be the first Indiana Jones not directed by Steven Spielberg. Be interesting. Carey Mulligan joins the new Adam Sandler movie on Netflix called Spaceman. Before people go, oh God, I believe it's going to be more of a serious movie. It's like a sci-fi novel turned into a movie. So
it's not going to be the masterpiece that was Hubie Halloween?
No, I don't think so. I just hope, and a lot of actors get drawn into the Adam Sandler void, if you will. I just hope Carey Mulligan is not one of those, and it's actually like one of those more serious, uncut gem style Adam Sandler films that we could all kind of get behind.
What will Rob Schneider's cameo be? Will David Spade make an appearance?
I think Rob Schneider should play a comet.
Oh.
It's called Spaceman. A funny talking comet. How about that?
You can do it!
Yes. Let's see. Pilu Asbach. I'm not sure how to say his last name. He was the uncle on Game of Thrones of Theon. Whatever his...
Theon Greyjoy?
Yeah, he was their uncle, the one that tries to kill them. And then Jamie ends up killing him right before Jamie does. He is joining Aquaman 2, so that'll be fun. He's a good actor. This is big news that just came out this week. Pete Davidson, whatever anybody thinks about him, has been cast by himself because he's the movie he's producing and working on to play Joey Ramone. Now, here's the thing. I don't know much about the Ramones. I honestly just started listening to them like this last week, like after I heard that news, to be like, hey, maybe I should listen to them. I saw an interview that he did with Conan that popped up on Facebook because of this news. Honestly, perfect casting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could play that part in his sleep because it's almost like it is him.
Yep.
Like, so I could see why he would see that character and be like, yeah, I can do that. Because it is Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
It's very... Just watch the Joey Ramone, look up that interview he did on Conan. You'll see it too. You'll be like, oh wow, yes, I see that happening. Interested to see who Machine Gun Kelly's going to play because he's in all of movies now. So he'll be one of them. Maybe I don't know.
Machine Gun Kelly did a great portrayal of Tommy Lee in The Dirt.
Yep.
So.
And also Pete Davidson was in that as well, which I forgot until I read the article. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He plays like one of their agents or something, right?
Yeah, that Vince Neil is doing his girlfriend.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a Netflix one.
I have a question, not to interlude.
Sure.
Have you seen the trailer for Fast 9?
I have seen the trailer for Fast 9. And
the things we do, I'm going to do for my country. Oh, wait, that's a different Vin Diesel movie.
So are you referring to the Roman and Ludacris characters basically jumping from space? So you're talking about?
Well, they blew up a submarine. They crashed a cargo plane.
Now they're going to jump from space. So here's another thing. I was going to bring up Jurassic World, Fast 9 anyway, because the rumor Justin Lin, the director, he came back. He done a couple of them. He came back to do 9. Had said that they've had possible talks of doing a crossover with Jurassic World.
One of the interesting things that I bring up because they talked about the Brian O'Connor character, obviously portrayed by the late Paul Walker.
Yes.
And that just because Paul is gone, that doesn't mean that Brian's story is over. Now, there's been rumors flying around that Paul Walker's brothers may be coming back for a cameo of some kind. Now, the sentimental one in me is very excited about this because, I'm a big fan of these films. Obviously, I still feel they should have stopped at 7 because I think they wrapped it up perfectly.
Yes.
But hey, you do you, boo-boo. You're making money. I get it. But I just... And one part of me is excited. It's like, oh, good, Brian's back because he was a great character, a great support to, Dom Toretto. But at the same time, it's like, no, man, you got to do this perfect if you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
If he's gonna come and save the day in a very minor role, fine, but you can't be a major player. I don't think.
No, I don't think they're gonna do that. Justin Lin did talk about how doing this movie, it was hard to write around him because he's still alive. Yep. So I assume that means they're not gonna. There may be like one scene of him and Jordana Brewster or something that they show with the kids because they bring her back into the fold because she's not in 8. Yeah. So now she's going to be back in 9. So most likely there might be a scene where she's like leaving, like, hey, look after our kids. I'll be back. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Either it's that or it's dire straits and Brian pops up out of nowhere and saves them all.
And for people that are upset with actors being,
they saves the day and then the character dies. Maybe I don't like. That's what I worry. They're going to do something crazy, kind of dumb like that. So I don't know.
As long as they have permission from his daughter to use his likeness, I'm okay with what they do. For the most part. I mean, obviously, with something stupid and ridiculous, and I won't be a fan of it.
Don't CGI his face onto his brother for the whole movie. It didn't work.
No, it was rough on the one moment that they had to do. Now that one,
although the deep fakes have gotten better, I just don't think it's. Again, we're going down the rabbit hole, but when they made Rogue One with Tarkin, it was cool looking, but at the same time,
kind of like
anyway.
Let's not. So that I wanted to talk about that anyway, just because Lynn was
Jurassic Park. That would be
like, have you ever wanted to see a raptor drive a Ferrari or Vin Diesel punch a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the face?
All of a sudden, The Rock comes out and rock bottoms a Velociraptor. If you smell,
I could just see Roman riding the Mosasaurus, the big water one. You gotta be kidding me! We're riding a dinosaur now? Come on, man! Because that's all he does in the movie since the second one. Because the second one he didn't do it as much, but since he came back in 5, all Roman does is complain about everything that they're doing.
He's the dumb comic relief.
He is. All right. So the only thing I have. Oh, also Courtney Cox starring horror comedy series picked up at Starz. Also stars Greg Kinnear and Mira Sorvino. Seems somewhat interesting. I'm looking forward to that, I guess. We'll see. Lizzie's Story is a limited series from Stephen King starring Julianne Moore and Clive Owen. It hits Apple Plus on June 4th with 2 episodes to start and then 1 a week every Friday for 6 weeks. So that could be interesting. 2 big actors in a Stephen King limited series on Apple Plus. I don't know. We'll see. Deaths this last week, Timothy Patrick Quill, Army of Darkness, and My Name is Bruce actor, passed away. Helen McCrory from Harry Potter and Peaky Blinders also passed away. She played Malfoy's mother.
Narcissa Malfoy.
Yes, and she was sick. I think it was a quick illness. Her husband, actor Damian Lewis, announced the news. Very sad. She was only 52. She was also one of the main stars on Peaky Blinders with Cillian Murphy. So she will be missed. Again, very sad just how young she was, and they had a couple kids and stuff. All right, so that is our show for this week, everybody. We appreciate you listening and enjoying it, hopefully. And so next week we will be reviewing Mortal Kombat, the brand new movie from Warner Brothers, produced by James Wan. And I'm excited for it. I know Wayne's not big into fighting movies, so we'll see how it turns out. It's going to be gory as hell. That's all I care about. All right. So you can follow us at Now Showing with Mike and Wayne on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter at Now_Wayne. You can email us at nowshowingwithmikeandwayne@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at WeAreScrewed2. You can find me on Instagram at Mike1830 or at Facebook at Michael Kirkpatrick. You can follow Wayne on Twitter and Facebook at Wayne Yerke and on Instagram at @_Wayne. On Instagram at Wayne_Yerke. You could also watch our shows on Entertainment Buffet. Not that there's anything to watch, but I guess you can listen to them on Entertainment Buffet's YouTube page and see the graphic page I put up there. It's not that great, but it's still there. All right. For Wayne Yerke, I am Mike Kirkpatrick. Thank you for listening to Now Showing with Mike and Wayne.